Hey guys, it's Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, jumping on for another EE Live Q&A. Today, Tuesday, December the 3rd. So we are just approaching Christmas season, and I'm super excited about it because Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year. All right, well, we will wait as people start to join us here. I had a few email notifications, and Stephanie mistakenly posted the reminder on her own personal Facebook page. So I think some people who normally would have sent in a question via email, well, we don't have as many today. So guess what that means? It means that those of you who are tuning in here live are in for a phenomenal EE Live Q&A, because I'm going to be focusing on answering questions that you have today, as there's just a few ones that were sent in via email. So as we get everybody joining us here, I can see Katamba says, welcome on board, Mark. Thank you, Katamba. Fazia is tuning in from India. Welcome, Fazia. And Katamba says that Christmas suit, which I don't know if this one's quite a Christmas suit, but but it'll do. All right. Chidi is from Nigeria. Excuse me. Welcome, Chidi. It's welcome. Delighted to have you from all the way over from Africa joining. That's fantastic. Once again, we'll let everybody continue to post where they're listening from. So make sure you post that in the comments. I want to see just a ton of different locations all over the world. That's what I love the most. Now I'm just going to pull my door shut over here. I forgot to close it, so the other staff members are probably hear this loud guy in the background who's doing these live videos again. Sharath, hi, how are you, Sharath? So just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. There, and I'll just turn on just a little bit more light here. It's actually been pretty bright. The snow outside is disappearing, and I think you guys remember just a couple days ago I did a video where the snow was coming down and it was like a whiteout and I could hardly see. But check this out here. I'll turn my screen just a little bit. Look at that. The snow is pretty much melted. So welcome to Lethbridge, sunny southern Alberta, because that's what happens. You guys think probably that once this snow comes down, it is just going to be sticking around forever, but that's not the case. This warm wind comes and it melts the snow. But as we have a bunch of people coming in, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me last night that was very scary, super scary. And I'm gonna leave you hanging for a second while I welcome the other people who are tuning in here. So we have Avneet says hello. Hi, Avneet. And remember, Sharath and Avneet, make sure you post where you're listening from. Katamba is Uganda, East Africa. Fantastic. Welcome. Over there, Avneet says from India. Edicha, hey Mark, greetings from Calcutta. Awesome. It's great to have you guys here. And as always, I know you guys over there, it's really late. So you guys are staying up really late in order to be able to tune in and watch this live. So that really means a lot to me. Nazreen says, God bless you. I like watching you. A big shout out to the best consultant ever. Thanks, Nazreen. I really appreciate it. When people refer to me as a consultant, I know that they mean a representative, and most of the people in the world just assume consultants are, the ones that are the representatives. I am a Canadian immigration lawyer, so I'm a little bit different than a consultant, but regardless, thank you so much, Nazreen, for that shout out. I appreciate it. All right, Saksham says, hey, I'm from Delhi. Hru is from Morocco. Sharath is India. Awesome. We've got a really good group of people here. I'm really excited today. All right. It's time now. Oh, Suldan from Germany just jumped on. Welcome, Suldan. And if you're late tuning in, just post in the comment section where you're listening from. I love to see where people are tuning in. Okay, here's what happened. So yesterday, I took my mother to Calgary for an eye appointment. And on the way back, it took us a little bit longer to get out of Calgary and make our way home. And so it was dark. And during the day, it was quite warm. Well, warm in terms of winter. So it was about 2-3 degrees Celsius. And when that happens, the snow melts. And the snow melts on the highways, and it becomes a little slushy. And then when it gets closer to nighttime, the temperature starts to drop. And in fact, what happens is the water that melted then freezes and becomes ice. And I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the concept of black ice, but because in Alberta, at least, a lot of our roads are black. And so at night, if there is ice on the road, you can't see. And we call that black ice. And so here's what happened to me last night. I was driving in my truck coming home, and I hit a patch of black ice with my mother. And fortunately, we were in the truck, but this highway isn't a divided highway where there's a big divider in between. The traffic that's passing back and forth are literally, there's nothing between them but a painted line. And my truck started to slide sideways like this. So it was sliding sideways down the highway, and there were cars coming at me. And we were going probably about 100 kilometers an hour, which was the speed limit. And I managed to get it corrected just enough to point it into the ditch, and I took the truck down into the ditch and into the snow, and just plowed right into the snow in the ditch. And we were so fortunate, because if you can imagine two sides of the road, and some vehicles are going this way and others are going this way. Well, when I spun and I was going right across the path of these vehicles, I managed to continue on and go right down into the ditch. And so much, just so many bad things could have happened that didn't. And I'll be honest, I'm a faithful guy. I believe that I have a Father in heaven. I believe that there is a God above. And without a doubt, I believe that he was looking out for me and my mother, because at that high speed, I was able to correct it just enough to get down into the ditch and just get off of the road, because there was no way I was getting back into my lane. So I actually crossed over the road and went down into the ditch, and got stuck right in the snow. And then fortunately, a snow plow was able to come and pull me out, which in and of itself was awesome. And I want to give a huge, massive shout out to the RCMP. And I want to ask all of you guys, do you know what the RCMP is in Canada? So I'm going to give a few seconds for you to post in the comments below if you know what the RCMP are. And this is just a test to see if you guys are studying up on your Canadian, the Canadian culture and what we have going on here. But the RCMP were just exceptional, and they were right there, and were actually helped me to get a drive. Excuse me, the number to the tow truck who could tow me out. And so I'm just waiting to see if any of you smarty pantses know what the RCMP are. Maybe you don't. So that's probably enough time. We'll see if anyone posts we're close. Abdullah's got the Royal Canadian Metropolitan Police, but Aditya is correct. It is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And so this comes back to the early days of the police force when they traveled across the country on horseback. And that's why they were called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, because they were mounted on horses. And it's just stuck with them since the beginning. And they're basically the country's police force. And that officer was, Derek was his name, was exceptional. And he set up his vehicle, he turned the lights on to warn other people to slow down. But even then, it was crazy. We managed to tow ourselves out, and I do have some video that, it might be kind of fun to show you guys, but I don't want to eat up all of our time today with me showing you videos and everything when I know you have important questions to be, basically that you want me to answer. But let me just see here if I can just airdrop it quick. And let's see here. Okay, I think I'm going to hold off for now. But at the end of the day, the officer stayed there while we were being towed out. And while we were being towed out, 2 other people went off the road. And by the time we got out and we drove the rest of the 45-minute drive home on the highway, there were another 10 people total that we saw in the ditch, actually in there, not yet pulled out by the time we got home. So I am so grateful. I consider myself just so fortunate, because it could have been awful. Not only could we have just slid right into the path of the oncoming traffic, and who knows what would have happened, whether it would have been something that would have taken our lives, or the people in the other lane. But I am so very, very grateful. And sometimes when those things happen, you just appreciate things a lot more, and you realize that when it's all said and done, the people around you, the ones that you love the most, are really the ones that that make life worth living. So, all right, I'm just going to just shut these ones off here so they're not distracting. All right, so let's see what we've got here for time. Okay, so we have, who else is tuning in here? So Anbu says, bought the guide. Thank you, Mark. Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. I want to send a massive, massive shout out to the many, 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 many people that purchased that guide for the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday sales. And I have never, ever offered it at a rate that low before, of 70% off. I've gone down as low as 60%, but never 70%. And I can tell you that if the results of that, and the number of people that actually purchased it are reflective of what can happen when I lower the price, I just may consider lowering it more frequently, because it was unbelievable. The response was overwhelming, and it could not have come at a better time for me and my practice. So thank you so much to you, Ambu, and to all of the many, 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 many people that took advantage of the Black Friday sale to get my complete express entry do-it-yourself guide at the 70% off the regular rate. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. Boser is from Bangladesh. Jirari is Algeria. Chidi says, wow, must have been so scary. Glad you both are all right. Yes. I'm very, very glad, Chidi. Fazia says, thank God. And that's true. It really is. Saksham says, God bless, all the things were in your favor. Absolutely. Katamba confirms God is good all the time. He sure is. And then we've got some questions that are now coming in. Tashika says, good day, everyone. Welcome, Tashika. Thanks for joining us. Okay, guys, let's start with a few of the questions that came in via email first. And then I'm going to turn the time over to answer all of your questions. And so the first question is actually from Fazia. And Fazia says, dear Mark and Stephanie, hope you are doing well. My question relates to proof of funds. While providing 6 months bank statements to IRCC, do we have to explain deposits or incoming transactions worth 1,000 to 1,500 Canadian as well? For example, let's say I've submitted bank statements from May to October 2019, and there's a deposit of $1,000 on June 2019, 1,500 somewhere in August. Do I have to explain these transactions? Well, the answer is no, absolutely not. You do not have to explain them. Often, if there's deposits, yes, they could come from someone, and I think I know what you're getting at. Some people probably in the internet are saying, oh, if you've got a large deposit, then you need a gift deed, or you need to be able to show where those funds come from. No, you don't. You don't have to. But understand, if you have a big, huge deposit, and it's an actual gifted money from someone that you're using for the purposes of settlement. So understand, if it's a deposit or money that's coming in from a parent or a sibling or something that they're giving you money to help you settle, then in those circumstances, yes, I always get gift deeds. But if it's deposits from employment income or things like that, no, that's exactly what they're looking for. They want to see that the income that you're earning has been growing over time through your own efforts, through your own employment earnings. And so unless it is an actual gift from a third party, another person that you'd need to, in my opinion, provide the source of those funds in a gift deed, I don't worry about that. So you should be just fine. Okay. Now, here is Fazia's reason. So my reason to ask this question is to know, is there any minimum or maximum amount set that has to be explained. And I think that's really what I've answered now. It's not so much the minimum or maximum. It's like where the money came from. And if it is money that has come from a person to help you with your settlement funds, and that's where the deposit has come, then I always do include that. But if it's employment earnings and income, I don't know. It's self-evident. I don't worry about that at all. Okay, good question, Fazia. Okay, next question is Ivan. So Ivan says, hi, Mark. First, I'd like to say that, okay, Stephanie screens these. I don't. So I'll read what it says. First, I would like to say that this is the best immigration YouTube channel I've seen. I've watched plenty of videos, and Canadian Immigration Institute is by far the best. Thank you for providing us this excellent service, and keep up this amazing work. Ivan, and all of you who are watching this as a recording on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the videos, and thank you for sending in your questions, because you guys are super, super important to what I do in these Express Entry live Q&As on Facebook. All right. So here is Ivan's question. I was recently nominated by the province of Manitoba, and I've received the additional 600 points for my Express Entry profile. I should be invited in the next round. I've got 2 questions, and I hope you can answer both of them. Well, we'll see. First question is about police certificates. He says, I live in Canada, and when I select Canada for the country I live now on the CIC website, I get this message. We'll tell you if you need a Canadian criminal record check while your application is being processed. And then Ivan says, I'm confused because the website also says to provide the police certificates for countries we have lived for more than 6 months. And I've lived in Canada for almost 3 years. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we're going to, and once again, this the one update, unfortunately, with this, with when I share my screen, is the fact that I have, let's just see here. When I share it, it shares my whole screen, which is kind of annoying. It didn't used to do that. I'm not sure why. So we'll blow this up big so that everybody can see. And then I'm going to close all these extra windows that I have open. And here. Okay, so I'm going to open up a new window, and we're going to go to IRCC, and we're going to go to police certificates, and we're going to pull up exactly what we're looking at here. Okay, so Ivan is talking about where it asks you. So who needs one? When should? What is a police certificate? How do I get one? So if you go to how to get one, you can go to how to get a police certificate. Okay, so what Ivan is saying is that in some cases, when you go here and you search up your country and understand this is where you live. So if we go to Canada here, so we'll go down to Canada if you're in Canada, and lots of you now are actually in Canada applying through Express Entry. So you can see here, it tells you whether or not you need to get one. So it says name of the document you need, criminal record check, applying for permanent residence, which of course is Express Entry. So you, and let me just make sure here, bear with me a second, make sure I've got it. Okay, I do. Sometimes it's tricky, and I want to make sure I'm actually showing you the page. So it says you don't need to provide a police certificate when you apply for permanent residence in Canada. So there's the simple answer. And it comes in different places, and maybe Ivan was looking in a different location. But the reason is they have the ability to do those checks themselves internally. And the only time that they ask you to provide a police certificate and go out and get it is when they do a name search or a match, and they get a hit on you, and then require you to do a fingerprint search to confirm you're not the bad dude or gal who's got the criminal record. So that's why they have this set up. So for Canada, nope, you do not need to provide it. Okay, let's see what the second question here is. The next question is, I have a son who was born in Canada. I don't see an option to add my son as dependent on my Express Entry profile. In this case, will my son need to take the medical exam too? He is less than 2 years old. Well, the reason is because once you get your invitation to apply, that's when it asks for additional family. That's where you can add in the information for your son. But you're going to indicate that they are a Canadian citizen because they were born here. And when that happens, you do not have to obtain an immigration medical for a dependent child who's already a Canadian citizen. So that requirement is not there. But I want to congratulate you on getting that nomination to the province of Manitoba. That's wonderful. And I want to wish you all the best. All right. Thanks, Ivan, for that great question. Okay, guys, that is it. We're going to end right there. There was one other question. Actually, I want to give a shout out to one other question, and that one was from Kanika. And Kanika said that the instructions, and actually I could show this. I don't have an answer to this, Kanika, but we'll talk about it regardless. So if you go here, and if you go to the UAE, so I'll just hit U and jump down to the bottom here, United Arab Emirates, and you find out the instructions here. It tells you what you need to do. So if you are a citizen of the UAE, okay, that's fine, but most of you are not. So if you are not a citizen of the UAE, then it gives you instructions here on what you need to do. If you live outside but have lived in the UAE, then here's some other instructions here. And you can see they're quite detailed, and it gives specific instructions, as I'm flipping all over the place here. And you can go to there and check it out. But what Kanika is basically saying is that now people who are not UAE citizens and live outside of the UAE, which is this part right here, okay? So you live outside of the United Arab Emirates, then it gives you instructions on how you can apply. But you can see, as Kanika has indicated here, that online is now a possibility. And so I don't have an answer as to whether or not immigration, IRCC, will accept an online police certificate from the UAE, but it's something that I'm going to take away and look into. So sometimes we get questions like that I don't have answers to, and that's totally fine. And here I'm like showing you, but I'm not. I'm talking about it and I'm not showing you. Oh boy, this happens so frequently to me. So basically, I searched up the United Arab Emirates right here. And when I got here, the question relates to if you live outside of the UAE, but you are not a citizen of the UAE. So in these instructions here, it doesn't have any instructions for filing and obtaining your police certificate electronically. But there is apparently now, as Kanika has pointed out, that there is a process for doing it online. And I don't know whether or not IRCC will accept that, but that's something I'm going to look into. So great question. Thanks so much. All right, let's shift back here now. And what I want to do at this stage is give all of you awesome folks an opportunity to post your questions now. So we will, the last question is Saida, or at least the last comment was Saida that says, I'm from Bangladesh. So welcome. But what I'm going to do is anyone who posts their comments, then after Saida Fiza Kadri's comment here, then I will start following and answering your comments now. So if you're late tuning in and you're just jumping on now and you've missed my initial little instruction, I had a little brush with death last night because I slid off the road with my mother when I was coming home from our taking her to a doctor's appointment in Calgary. And this is with my truck. And the road was icy, and the truck just, it lost its traction and started sliding sideways down the road. And I managed to correct it enough to drive into the ditch. And fortunately, I'm here doing this video today. But those of you who tuned in late, that was my brush with death yesterday. And so I am so grateful to be here with all of you. Oh, very scary. And there was no injury to me or my mother. And really, the truck even didn't get too much damage as it just went right into the big snow drift in the ditch. All right. Okay, let's see what we got here. We've got some comments coming in. Okay, let's start off with Nazreen. Nazreen says, it's been almost 9 months since my AOR. Last week, I've received an update on my Express Entry profile. Is this any good? Well, Nazreen, I can tell you that I don't know. I'd have to look at what the update was. Processing times for Express Entry have been climbing, and I have my agenda for my meetings with IRCC, and that's one of the questions on the list is processing times for Express Entry, where they see things going. Another question on my list is what in the world they plan to do with all of the international students in Canada that are in excess of 600,000, which basically there are more students probably that want to immigrate to Canada than there's going to be room to have them. And they're really the reason why the comprehensive ranking system scores are now driving up above that crazy 470 mark. It's the international students. Okay, so I'm going to hopefully get those answers. But in terms of, Nazreen, what your issue is, whether it's good or bad, any update, any further advancement for sure is beneficial. So I'll say a yes. Okay, Ralph says, hi, Mark, long time. Yeah, it is, my friend. In which case, the IAC approves a visitor visa for 6 months. Booking with Airbnb for 6 months, is it enough to get a visa for 6 months? Okay, understand when it comes to visitor visas, it's actually better to have a shorter intended visit to Canada than it is a longer one. If you intend to stay and you've got proof that you're going to stay somewhere for 6 months, I'll be honest, they actually get a little bit, more reluctant to issue it if it's 6 months than if it was a holiday for maybe 3 weeks. Because usually people can't afford to go visit Canada or go on a holiday for 6 months. You have to be able to support yourself. And because of that, if you're indicating that you're going to stay for a full 6 months, you need to have a really good explanation. Regardless, Airbnb or whatever, no one really cares. It's really what your intention and purpose of coming to Canada is and how you're going to support yourself while you're here. Okay, good question. Okay, Fazia says, is it true that Alberta nominated PR applications are processed faster than the general federal skilled worker applications? No. Well, let me rephrase that. There's two ways really through the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. One is through the Alberta Opportunity Stream, AOS, which is not a part of Express Entry. And if I share my screen with you guys and we blow this up again big and I go here to IRCC processing times, you'll be able to see here as I check the processing times, and then I go to permanent residence, so economic immigration, and then I go to provincial nominees, and then online via express entry, I'm going to say no. So have you already applied? No, I'm going to say I haven't applied yet. So this is the processing time if you're going through one of the non-express entry permanent resident nominations through one of the PNPs, the provincial nominee programs. Right now, it's 15 to 19 months after you get your nomination from the province, which can take a couple months or 3 months or 4 months. And so that's 15 to 19 months. If you are going through one of the express entry streams like Alberta has, and then I'm just going to close that and I'm going to go here. I got so many things dancing around here. I have to figure out how to set it up so it only does just the screen like I did before. Note to file, and I'm going to quit my mail so it stops opening up on me here. Okay, so if we go back here, and if we're looking at this in an expanded version, you'll see, so 15 to 19 months after, and if it is an express entry one, then you click the processing times, then it says 6 months, which is the normal express entry. But remember, this is always after the nomination. So no matter what you're doing, that's kind of a little bit of an overview. So hopefully that helps and it answers your question, Fazia. All right, Gerari says, hi, hope you're okay. Glad to know that nothing bad happened to you and your mom. Yes, very, very, very glad. I'm from Algeria, and my question is regarding proof of funds. At what time should I change my proof of funds from the local currency to the Canadian dollar? Won't it cause any problems to show proof of funds in my local currency during express entry application and before coming to Canada? Should I change it to euro? Gerari, no. As long as the amount that you have in your account, if converted, is above the Canadian amount, you don't need to convert it into Canadian dollars nor euros. If it is euros already, that's fine. It doesn't matter. The only issue is that sometimes with people, if their currency fluctuates a lot, they may think they have enough, and then the value of the currency drops, and then they no longer have that amount available. So that's the only time that I consider moving it to a more stable dollar, like the US or Canadian, is when you have high currency fluctuations. All right, good question, Jari. Okay, Wajdi says, hi, Mark. I know when we check EE admissibility, 75% we need experience of one knock. So when we can add experience of different knocks? Okay, great question, Wajdi. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're really getting at here. And I'm going to share my screen once again, and I'm going to blow this up so you guys can see. I'm going to go to the Federal Skilled Worker Program eligibility, and I've looked it up about 5 gazillion times. And so eligibility to apply. So this is really what we're getting at, okay? So in your question here, you're asking about a substantial number of the main duties for a knock. When you're qualifying for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, which most of you outside of Canada, this is what you're going through. there is this selection factor grid. You have to have at least 67 points out of 100 total points on this grid based on a lot of the same things that you have assessed in the comprehensive ranking system. So age, education, work history, etc. Well, when it comes to work experience, in order to meet the initial threshold for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, and you guys don't even know this is happening. When you're completing your eligibility assessment to get your profile into the pool, the comprehensive ranking system, that algorithm is already assessing you against the Federal Skilled Worker eligibility. So many people don't even know what's happening. But you need to be able to meet the 67 points, and you need to show that you have the minimum skilled work experience. And how do you do that? Well, you do that by, as you can see right here, it has to be skilled, so 0, A, or B. And it has to, as you can see here, in your primary occupation, so this is the one that you're claiming your eligibility under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you have to pick one. That primary occupation, you have to show that you've performed all of the duties in the lead statement and all of the essential duties and most of the main duties. And this is where you get the 75%. Most of the main duties, they've dumbed this down. So the legislation reads a substantial number of the main duties. Well, what does substantial mean? I say about 75%, right around there, give or take, depending on the number of duties. So yes, you have to do that. But the key here is to look at the skilled work experience. So as you can see, same type of job. And remember, this is just for eligibility under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. When you're trying to determine if you're eligible and you're calculating points for work experience, to get the 67 points, you can only count work experience in the same NOC for the purposes of this here, this eligibility, okay? We're not talking about the comprehensive ranking system. So if you've gone through, you have to have it in the same type of job, the same NOC. Within the last 10 years, it has to be paid. It can't be volunteer or unpaid internships. And then here's the key. At least 1 year of continuous work, which is 1,560 hours total at 30 hours per week, okay? And you can accumulate it in a number of different ways: full-time, equal part-time, full-time at more than one job, okay? You can even accumulate it part-time like I indicated here. But the key here is that what you're doing here is you just have to show that you have the 1 year of continuous work. Well, with 1 year, if you can show just with 1 year of skilled work experience that you have at least the 67 points, and let's take a quick look at the selection grid so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So work experience under this selection grid, it's worth 15 points, and you get 9 points if you have 1 year. Well, some of you you're only sitting at 66 points, and you need 2 years. And so in these circumstances, 2 to 3 years, you're getting 11 points. But with that being said, if with only 1 year alone, or I guess even 2 years, you can meet the minimum threshold of 67 points, then at that stage, you're eligible to submit your application into the pool. But when it comes time to calculating your comprehensive ranking system, the comprehensive ranking system actually allows you to use work experience after you've met the minimum threshold here. If it's 1 year to get the 67 points, then after that 1 year, you can claim work experience in other NOC codes. And in fact, it doesn't have to be continuous either. Just the work experience in your primary NOC that's going towards calculating your eligibility under the 67 points for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. That's where it has to be continuous full-time paid work. But once you've got that met, then you can use other work experiences to claim your full comprehensive ranking system score, which we all know, once you've hit 3 years of foreign work experience, then you've maxed out. Okay, all right, let's see what we have next here. So the next on the agenda here is, and actually maybe I'll just leave that open there for my purpose. Okay, so great question, Wajdi. Okay, so Ralph has posted it again. Katamba says, Mark, the CRS points are now in the 470s and 471s. The points are getting higher. What do you advise? Canadian education first, or we can have faith that it may come down at one point? Katamba, if you're looking at options, just like the other 600,000 people that have come to Canada, now in fairness, not all of them have wanted to become a permanent resident of Canada. They've just come truly to study and get international experience. But for those that have intended to become permanent residents, they are dominating the scene. They are the ones that are driving the ship going forward. And so that's part of the reason why I am still working on my study permit guide. And I apologize, because that do-it-yourself study permit guide is designed to help all the people out there who know they don't have a prayer now of getting into Canada because the comprehensive ranking system scores are so high. So 470 and 471, yeah, it's right off the charts. Okay, Mohammed says, hi, Mark. I'm asking about the ECAS. I had an access to the ECS and got in-process message. A few days later, it kept giving me a try again message. What could be the reason? Even though I followed all the instructions on the site and I cleared my computer memory, I'm just afraid that there's something wrong with my application. This, Mohammed, is actually not something I can help you with. I recommend that you reach out directly, see if you can get the Educational Credential Assessment Agency on the phone and explain the situation. I wish I could give you more advice. Okay, Sayeda says, I want to know about immigration of Canada. How can I get entered to Canada without IELTS? Please suggest me. Sayeda, it's extremely difficult to be able to get any access to Canada without language. For sure, you're not going to get anywhere without on the permanent resident process without IELTS. It's just the way it's designed if you're outside of Canada. When it comes to other ways that you can come without language scores, well, you still have to be able to show a base level of language ability. But if you have a job offer from a company in Canada, generally speaking, you don't need IELTS to come and work. Okay. Aditya, I think I've answered your question about the increase for CRS. It is because of more international students, without a doubt, hands down. And I think they're going to have a massive impact. And this is one of the questions that we're going to be asking in Ottawa this week, just where things are at with respect to all these international students. Okay, Nikhil says, if someone gets married after acknowledgement of receipt, then what docs will be required to update CIC for the change in family composition and listing a spouse as accompanying? I've heard they do ask for photographs, wedding, honeymoon, and chat proofs as well. Well, Nikhil, this is something that there is a long, lengthy list. I call it the spousal kit that they often send out in those circumstances because they want to know that the relationship is genuine and that it wasn't entered into just for them to be added onto your permanent resident application so they could land in Canada. We know right now, as it stands, as of today, December the 3rd, 2019, if you add a spouse, you get married after acknowledgement of receipt, you can include that spouse in your application, but they need to be medically examined. They need to have their police certificates completed. They need to have just about provide all the other passports and supporting documents to do the background checks and screening. They just don't need to provide ECAs and be assessed against the comprehensive ranking system. They can be included. That's as of today. Anything could happen. Anything could change tomorrow. 1 second. Do you know what, guys? I'm going to have to put you on hold because I now see that my family are here and I forgot to give them my the ink cartridge that I bought for them. So welcome to the amazingly crazy world of Mark Holt, the immigration lawyer who does everything himself and to a large extent, well, let's just say I've got to run out and take them this. I'll be right back. Hang tight. All right, I am back. Woohoo! Thanks for your patience. My wife and my daughter are headed down to the border because it is there's a shipping outlet on the other side of the border that's way cheaper to send things down to my son in Suriname in South America. There's this awesome group called Firm Cargo that flies out of Miami, I think, and that takes packages to missionaries of our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in Suriname. And it's a wonderful service because all we have to do is get a package and send it through the ground transport in the US, and then they fly it to Suriname for way cheaper than if we were to try to send it from Canada. So my wife and my daughter had something that they needed to print off to include in his package for Christmas, and the printer ran out of ink. So I had to go and buy some printer ink here, and then I forgot to leave it at the front desk. So there you go. Sorry for the delays there, you guys. Okay, let's keep continuing on here. Thanks for your patience. Okay, now I want to make sure that I've actually answered the questions here. Excuse me. So Nikhil, when it comes to adding your spouse, there's a whole bunch of things. And I actually have the official, letter that I have for clients. Let me just see, my friend here. I can't really add in a document. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do a special video with it because there's a lot of things that are associated with it. But maybe I'll do a special little video next time on what is included or what they ask for. Nikhil, if you want to book a consult, 100%, and I think you guys I've provided these consults for these instructions for some time. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to post it in where to book a consult. And for the month of December, this is where you go to book consults, that link that I just provided there. And the reason I say for the month of December, because things are changing for me. And just yesterday, I gave my firm Stringham LLP notice that I was going to be going back out on my own and opening up my own law firm. And I'm really, really excited about it. And I'll do a separate video just on that. But January 1st, I'll have a new firm and a new office. And I have, some new people working with me. And I'm really excited about the future direction, all designed to be a better provider of immigration services. So Stringham has been awesome to me. They've been very, very good. But it's time for a change. So I'm excited for that new venture. And it will directly impact on all of you guys and the services and how I provide them. So I'm excited about that. Okay, let's jump back here again and see if we can get to the right spot here because I was messing around. So yeah, Nikhil, I recommend that you just book a paid consult. And if I share my screen here quick, this is the link that I just gave you. And I think most of you folks know where this is yourself. But you can just enter into here your information. And then I can walk through the whole process with you, explain everything to really, I guess it's possible they could come up with some other request for information. But generally speaking, this is 110% the maybe I shouldn't use 110%. The reality is what I give you and what I have, for the most part, is what they always request. Okay. I'm a little distracted here as I'm watching my wife and my daughter drive away here in our truck. Fortunately, the roads are a whole lot better now. Okay, let's see what else we have here. The next question. Okay, Nazreen is now asking about when they should expect to have to do another medical. Well, they have the discretion to grant permanent residence without extending the medical. But once it gets into, it depends on how long it's been expired, right? Depends on how long past that 1 year mark. But it's just really case by case. So I can't even tell you. Sometimes, and I can see here you're asking, what if it goes beyond 10 months? Well, sometimes if it's been quite a while, I do send my clients preemptively to go get another immigration medical. So sometimes I will do that, but it really just depends on the country of origin, whether or not I think it's actually going to be delayed longer. So there's no real fine line as to how I direct my clients, Nazreen. It just depends on their circumstances. Okay. Sayeda, you're asking about provincial visas. This is just focused on express entry, so I don't talk about the PNPs in any great depth. I'll do some separate videos on those. And then you're asking about a sister living in Toronto. Nope, she can't sponsor you. Well, she probably can't sponsor you. There is a Lonely Canadian, and there's some other avenues that are available if you're like the only one left in your country or she's the only one here. There are some of those possibilities, but that would require a paid consult, Sayeda, for us to go through those. But as it stands right now under the family class, you can't sponsor a sibling. The only way to do it is if they are a minor child under the age of 22 and they are included as dependents when you're sponsoring your parents. So That's how it works. Okay, Rura says, hi, Mark. I purchased the EE Do-It-Yourself by the Black 70. It's awesome. Thanks. Rura, that is awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so happy you're able to take advantage of that. And it's unbelievable, Rura, how many people actually did. And I'm so glad they did, because I believe in it. I know how awesome it is. And it's just the easiest designed way to help people not make mistakes. And you guys know what happens when you make a mistake. It gets returned. And with the CRS continuing to go up and up and up, it's just going to be increasingly more difficult for people to be able to qualify if they get their application returned. So you get your ITA, it is precious. It's like gold, and you cannot afford to make a mistake. You can't afford to trust someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And in many instances, I would never even encourage you to trust yourself. Always get someone to review it, to look it over. And that's why I offer my silver plan of doing a complete document review. All right. Gora says, Mark, you are nice. Thank you, Gora. Mohammed says, typically, how long does it take to receive a CSQ once we send our forms to Quebec? It's been over a month now. Mohammed, that's something I would always defer to my colleagues in Quebec. I don't do any Quebec-based immigration at this stage, although I'm seriously considering adding a lawyer from Quebec into my new firm. At this stage, we don't have, it's been over a month, and I can't tell you as far as processing. So I need to have you reach out to one of my colleagues in Quebec. Okay. So Mohammed here says, sorry for asking the question without clarifying what is ECAS. This stands for Electronic Client Application Status, which people use it to check their Express Entry profile status or other application status. Oh, okay, Mohammed. Okay. Okay, I was confused about what you meant. Okay, so you're just checking status here. Do you know what, Mohammed? Now I can't even remember what your original question was. Maybe repost your question and I'll try to answer it again. Sayeda says, can I talk to you over the phone? Sure, you just need to book a consult. All right? So that's what you can do, Sayeda. So just follow the link that I posted there. Okay, Katamba says, Mark, kindly think about writing to the immigration authorities to have a way of considering international students different from those that are not just like PNP having categories A and B. Well, Katamba, I'm not sure if you're in Canada now or what the situation is, but we'll see how things play out. At the end of the day, they have to figure out with their levels planning how many immigrants they're going to take each year, and they have to figure out who they're going to give priority to. Personally, I think people that have high CRS scores, like many of you do overseas, are fully entitled to coming to Canada and should be given that opportunity. And people that come and study in Canada, they're valuable people as well. So it's just a matter of trying to find that right balance. And I'm really glad that I'm not the one trying to make that decision. All right, let's see who else we have here. Okay, Garari says, thanks for answering my question. You're very welcome. I work as an assistant professor, and according to higher education laws in Algeria, full-time is only 9 to 12 hours a week. Is it okay to mention in my work reference letter full-time according to Algerian law without stating the hours? Girari, no, your application will get rejected. Full-time, if you're implying that it's going to be 30 hours when in reality it was something else, that would be misrepresentation. So you never want to try to manipulate things. Remember that part-time is 15 hours per week. So anything less than that, you're not going to be able to count. All right. Okay, Joe Harrell says, hi, Mark. Hey, Stephanie is connecting with you. I am so excited to work with you, my friend. He says, thank God you are well, and great to hear that you are going back to do your own business. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. But we're going to try to get yours in and out here while I'm at Stringham and try to help you in every way. So I'm really excited to work with you, Joe Harrell. Okay, Mirab says, I've said many times about applying for a visa. Okay, that's great. Okay, Wajdi says, okay, he's reposted his question, which I answered already. Nikhil says, thank you, Mark, for the valuable response. I would like to know if the relationship is 100% genuine, then should it suffice if the duo proceed with the court marriage certificate? That should be good enough to prove the relationship of the spouse with the primary applicant, right? Oh, so Nikhil, the marriage just has to be valid in accordance with the laws in whatever country it takes place. So that marriage certificate or that marriage confirmation, whatever it is in whatever form, it just has to be valid in the country in which it occurs. That's just the very, very bare minimum. After that, they can ask for a bunch of other information to prove the genuineness. Like, how did you meet? Do your family know each other? Do you have pictures from your wedding? Are you living together? Is your spouse expecting? Those kinds of things. And so that's really what the spousal kit is. But the marriage certificate, the marriage, that really is based on the laws of the land in which it took place. And generally speaking, Canada's pretty good about accepting that, except they are not very good at accepting proxy weddings. So when both parties are not physically present. So, all right. Okay. Okay, Katamba says, how do you prove brotherhood or sisterhood to claim the points of a brother or sister in Canada? If it is for strong ties, can a very good friend in Toronto earn me any extra points? No, they have to be a blood relative. So you have to share a parent. You can have a stepbrother where you share the same father or mother, but that's how you prove it. It has to be through a birth certificate or other official documentation showing that you have the same parent. All right. Emeka, hey, my friend, how are you doing? I'm so excited. I love when you connect. He says, I can boldly tell the world that your do-it-yourself guide is the best thing that has happened to me in my journey to immigrate to Canada. And hopefully very soon, I will be live on this channel with you to share my experience just very soon. You're the best, Mark. Mashi, I am so excited. And actually, I want to show everyone here. I'm going to share my screen again here. Seems like this is the better way of doing it. And I'm going to go to my Canadian. I think I have, Mashi, I think I've got you here. If you go to individual guides, and then you select learn more with my express entry guide, I have video testimonials. And I'm trying to remember, Mashi, if I have you here. Yes, right here. So you can watch this awesome, awesome testimonial that Mashi did for me. And I think, Mashi, I think you're the last one. I think everybody else here is already a permanent resident of Canada. And I'm so super excited about it. At least these ones that I've shown here that did the videos for me. So I cannot wait for you to get your permanent resident status. And thank you so much for the shout out. I know how awesome it is, but it's really hard sometimes for people to really believe it, because there's so much free stuff on the internet that people just feel, well, what is Mark going to add? What really is going to provide more value, and why should I pay, even if it's a small amount, to this lawyer who's doing this, do-it-yourself guide? Well, just listen to what all of these individuals have to say, and you'll realize pretty quick that this is not your average guide. It is a complete video walkthrough full of tons of resources, sample documents, everything that I could find. Basically, I'll show you what I do here. This is how I originally created it. So I went here, and I'm going to go to Facebook right here, and I'm going to log into my Express Entry Law private Facebook group, and this is where it all started. And it looks like we got 10 people who want to join here. This is where I used to do the course, all in here. And so any questions that people asked in here, I spent a significant amount of time going through and compiling all of the information that and questions that people had, the most common ones. And then I turned around and I built them all into this actual guide. So that's how I created it. And the questions that all of you ask are so very, very common. And so I just went out of my way to basically create a guide where I answered all the questions I know that you're going to be asking. And so when you go into the course, you'll see that not only is there a step-by-step for every module, basics, preparing to submit your Express Entry profile, actually completing the profile is module 3, 4 is the EAPR, 5 is uploading your documents, and then this member resource section is the one that I absolutely love. And this is where my more specific targeted answers to questions are contained. General information on all of the aspects of Express Entry, videos specifically on work history, everything from self-employed to you name it, language, are you eligible and how do you increase your chances of getting an ITA, job offers, what they are, how it works, proof of funds, police clearances, dependent family, non-accompanying spouses, education, medicals. Like, it just goes on and on and on. And that's why I love this so much. And so when I get people like Mashi here who are, come and say that it's awesome, it just means so much, because what does it matter what I say? People, they'll believe what they want to believe. And I'll tell you, it breaks my heart when people are not willing to spend, in this case, the 70% off was like $150 US. They're not willing to spend it for this comprehensive do-it-yourself guide, but they're willing to give $2,000 to some local agent who isn't even regulated, who knows probably only a little bit more about the process than they do. And it just breaks my heart when people aren't willing to do it. But I'm not a very good salesman. Like, how do I convince people to buy it? Well, people like you, Mashi. So thank you. All right, let's go down and check out and see what other questions we have. We're just about through to the end here. Mohammed says, how long after receiving my PR can I sponsor my mother? Usually you need to show that you've got at least 3 years of notices of assessment. So that's paying Canadian tax, and that amount is above the cutoff. So there is a low income cutoff amount that's kind of similar to the funds that you need for express entry, but you need to show that you've paid taxes on that amount that is set for your family and your parents. All right. So usually about probably a little bit more than 3 years, but that's when you could potentially be eligible to submit an expression of interest. But understand that there are way, way more individuals wanting to sponsor family, parents and grandparents than there are spots. So there's probably less than 10% of people that want to, that are actually able to get through, even when they're qualified. Okay. Chidi says, glad to know he helped you. Absolutely. And Shamela says, if a man has 2 wives, can he apply for both for immigration? No. And Shamela, that's something that would definitely require a consultation, because you can't directly do that, but there's some other ways of getting around where you can take that into consideration, because it's, having polygamy is legal in some countries. All right. Okay. Well, I think that basically wraps things up for today. I have had just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful EE Live Q&A with all of you. Thank you for tuning in. And once again, thank you so much to all of you out there. And if I go back to my Facebook page here, you can see at the top, and I will share my screen again, and I'm just bouncing all over the place here. But once again, you can see this 70% off. Thank you so much for everyone that took advantage of the Black Friday and then the Cyber Monday sales. Here's the Black Friday sale here. That was all 70% off the one-time access to the guide. So thank you. I'm also going to go in here and I'll show you guys, just while you're tuning in, just as we wrap things up here. When it comes to joining the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, it's truly private. So when people go and request to join, if they answer the questions, I approve them. So answered the question, I approve. Answered the question, I approve. This person was invited. So if someone's invited, I will approve them. If they've answered the question, I approve. These guys are actually pretty good. They're answering the questions. And I do this so that I can avoid spammers, essentially. And so, sometimes they don't answer all the questions, and I really don't like that. But if I can see that they actually were thinking about it, then I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But if someone hasn't answered any questions, then I decline them. And these 10 people, not bad. There was only 2 out of the 10 that I didn't allow entry. And why? Because I want this group to be safe. And it's a great place for you to ask your questions and to work collectively. And there's a lot of really good moderators that are involved here. So yeah, so it's this is an awesome resource, and we seem like we just hover right now at about 124,000. It doesn't seem to go past, it doesn't seem to go under. And all of you obviously are watching right now live on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. So once again, I'm going to be changing these banners over because I had them going all the way up to midnight last night, and then I went to bed. And so now I need to repost them. I also want to give a quick shout out, and there's the live video here. I also want to give a quick shout out to anyone that has pictures. Those of you who are my alumni who have come through the Canadian Immigration Institute, are graduates and are now permanent residents of Canada. I want to encourage you to send me your photos, beautiful photos of Canada, because I want to put these back on the banner images and celebrate just all that is so awesome about our wonderful country here that we call home. So send those to me if you can. I'd love to receive those via Messenger, or you can send it by email. And I also want to just remind everyone that for the time being, as it is right now, if you have a question that you would like answered, if you're watching this on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel, let's see if I can find this. What I want you to do, man, I'm always struggling trying to find the right ones here. You're gonna type EE Live Q&A, and where is it here? I've changed it like 500 times, and it keeps disappearing on me. Stephanie's email address. Oh boy. Wow, this is fantastic. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I'll have to recreate it. Probably. Probably. Here, I'll do this here. All right, let's see if that will save now. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to turn it on. So there it is. So make sure, just send an email to stephanie@stringham.ca, and don't forget to put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and then I will consider your question for one of our upcoming Express Entry Lives. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. It's been an absolutely wonderful EE Live Q&A. Thanks again to all of you who have been involved and been here and are watching at this crazy hour. And I wish you guys all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Express Entry. See you later.